What's up, guys? I'm here with Ansley from Measureless Aeons. Just saw y'all show. Y'all killed it. Super good set, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So, tell me about your guitar.
Oh, yeah. So this is not my normal guitar.
Okay.
My normal one is I usually play a Schecter Demon 6 with active humbuckers. But so it's 6-string. Unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, my jack input broke, and so I got to get it soldered back, and I just haven't had a chance yet.
Fair enough.
So I'm playing right now just a cheap old Jackson Dinky 7-string. Nothing special. It's just a backup guitar.
Yeah.
But it's actually sounding pretty good with some of the tones I've dialed in recently. And we actually have a song where I can use the open A. So it's actually been kind of nice. I might start using it more than my Schecter.
Okay.
So, but no, normally the Schecter is what you usually see me with.
Fair enough. I like the sweat-coated finish. That's
Oh
cool,
yeah,
man.
it's just messy.
For sure, I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so like you usually play on a 6-string. What's your usual tuning?
I usually play just drop D on the Schecter.
Okay.
On the Schecter, I have tried to get that thing dialed in with like a lower setting, but I get a lot of fret buzz if I go below drop D. So that's what I use. This one is actually tuned drop D on the regular 6 strings, so I can keep playing without thinking about it.
Yeah.
But then I've got the low B tuned to an A, so that I can do drop A, because our other guitar player Ethan's in drop A on his guitar, so I can still do the open chug with him if I need to.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually he's 7, you're 6.
Yeah,
So you're doing more
I'm
of the
usually
high-
6. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
usually
yeah.
playing more high and more of the melodic stuff.
Yeah.
And he's usually playing the chunkier riffs. So,
Makes sense.
But now I can kind of, on like one of our newest songs, I can actually do the open chug with him, so it works.
Hey, nice. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Get that double guitar chugging
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
So this isn't your usual guitar.
Not my usual.
Is your usual one also 2 humbuckers?
Yeah, it's 2 active humbuckers.
Okay. Do you gravitate towards a certain pickup, or do you
I
change?
always stay in the middle.
Always. Oh, okay.
I know a lot
Interesting.
of metal guitar players just do the bridge, but I actually stay in the middle. Ethan does the bridge and kind of has that really chunk. I kind of like a little bit warmer tone.
Yeah.
Normally, especially because I'm not doing like the chugs, like it doesn't get too muddy. It gets a little bit muddier down there, but I usually try and I think the reason I do that is we go back and forth to the cleans so much, and I love the middle position for my cleans.
Yeah.
And I'm not fast enough to be like swapping back and forth.
Yeah.
So I just keep it there. It's easier.
It works. It sounds like, like you said, it's really good for clean sounds.
Yeah.
I think it's an underrated position on guitars.
Yeah.
For sure. And then you're running through a Boss Katana?
Yeah, it's just a Boss Katana. It's the Mark II 100 watt with a 212s. So this amp, and honestly, most of my rig kind of came out of necessity. So I'll try to keep this story short, but a few years back, I actually had a ridiculous rig. I had probably about $5,000 worth of pedals, and I was playing through an orange CR120.
Nice.
I'm not originally from Jackson, and when I first moved here, it was really hard finding musicians to play with, and I could just never really get a solid band off the ground. Now, I played off and on with Ethan and Brian from our band, our guitar player and drummer, but we had actually started a project. I was using that rig. That project fell apart. That last time it fell apart, I don't know why I got this way in my head, but I was 38 years old, 30, or maybe 39, and I was like, man, I can't get a band going. I thought I was done. I thought I was done playing live music. I had sold off pretty much all my stuff. I just started recording at home.
Yeah.
So I'd sold all my guitar rig, pretty much all my pedals, and I just kept my guitars. And then about 2 years after that, those guys dragged me back in. And so now financial situation's a little bit different. I need something cheap, otherwise I can't play. This amp came into play. I mean, the Katanas are a really great budget amp. I mean, you can get them used. You can get this thing used for like $200 all the time.
That's crazy.
And it's got a bunch of built-in effects. For the first solid year and a half of our band, I only used the built-in effects. So eventually, the only reason I started working on a pedal board again is the only thing I really didn't love on this amp is I didn't love the reverb.
Okay.
And I wanted a more lush reverb for like atmospheric stuff. So I bought, and I'll show you this in a second, but I bought a Catalan Bred FX40, and I was running it in the loop. And so when I needed just that one reverb sound, I would kick on the loop and have that get bigger. Well, then we had the power jack on this broke.
Oh no.
And when it broke, I was like, man, if I'm ever at a show and this thing breaks, I'm relying on all of its effects. I'm screwed. I can't just plug into somebody else's amp. And so I started slowly but surely trying to work up a board that could replace this if it crapped out, that I could still get close to my tone. So that's when I started kind of running the, building up this pedal board. But as far as what I've got currently on the Katana, so on my clean sound is just on the clean channel on the Katana. I've kind of got it dialed in somewhere in between like a Fender clean and maybe a Roland Jazz chorus clean, somewhere kind of in the middle. And then basically I've got at all times I have a basic delay on. I think it's just a quarter note repeat. But I've got a basic delay on the amp, and then I've got a little bit of plate reverb, just subtle. On my clean tone, I've got my loop running. So my loop runs out to my board. And I'll talk about these pedals in a second, but I've got 3 pedals that are in my loop. And those I use to get a little more atmosphere. Then I've got a setting where it's my main gain setting. So my main gain setting, when I just need like a tight distortion, I still have it on the clean channel, but on the amp I've got they've got a built-in it's basically their version of the Marshall Governor pedal. So I've got like the Marshall Governor distortion, and I use that because like Ethan's got more of like that deep PV kind of high gain. I wanted a little bit more of like a classic high gain. I really wanted, there was an artist that I like, Alcest, who kind of uses like Marshall, he uses like the Marshall super leads, and I love that kind of amp sound, so I wanted to kind of get somewhere close to that. So I'm using the Marshall Governor distortion, and then I'll just have a little bit of delay, just a hint, and then that's pretty much my distortion tone. And when I do my main distortion tone, I don't run the loop. So it's not going to my atmospheric pedals. It's just tight gain. But then I have another amp setting. It's the exact same distortion tone. So it's same gain, but that one runs to the loop. So I can switch it on. And that's when I go, when I need my big leads to have all the reverb and all the lush delay. So I'll be able to switch it to that. So I've got this board built where I can, if this thing craps out, I can get pretty close to the tone. It won't be quite the same, but it's in the ballpark.
Let's talk.
So this first thing right here is is just my effect switcher for the Katana. It's a GAFC. It's their built-in. That's the one they built specially for it. So basically, I have my channel 1, which is my clean channel. I have my channel 3, which is my basic distortion, and then I have my channel 4, which is my distortion going through the loop with all the atmospheric stuff. So I can switch back and forth between it, and it just has everything else running the way I need it to. As far as the pedals, I basically have a Boss TU3 trusty tuner. This is my Catalan bred Dirty Little Secret, the red version, which has got higher gain. So this pedal, basically there's a dip switch inside of it that you can flip, where you can switch between either a super bass amp setting, like a Marshall super bass, or you can switch between that and a Marshall super lead setting. So on this band, I keep it, like if I was going to use this as a backup, I would probably just turn it onto the super lead setting.
Card is full. It's recording audio in here. Yeah, keep going.
So I would normally do this as a super lead setting, as a backup, but when I'm using everything with the Katana, I'll run it on the super bass. And basically I just kick this on if I need a little bit more gain. There's like a solo section I use where I just need a little bit more gain. These 2 pedals I really don't use in Measureless Aeons. They're in another project I'm currently working on. But I do have a Joyo Splinter, which is a Rat clone, and I have a Fender Starcaster Chorus, which is just an analog chorus. Again, I don't use these for Measureless Aeons, but they're great. This is where, all of this stuff would be ran before my amp. At this point, this is where I would have my loop for my effects loop. I've got a Nux analog delay. It's a basic cheap analog delay. You can get this thing for like 30-40 bucks. I only use this again like if I need something warmed up, and I use it more like a slapback mode, but just if I need just a hint more delay and like a little bit of warmth. Then these 2 are kind of my secret sauce. So I've got the Boss DD6. In Measureless Aeons, I always have this very, very subtle on with maybe like a quarter note delay, but I have it in warp mode. And the warp mode, when I hold that down, it basically self-oscillates and builds like that big feedback. And so I use that at a couple points to get like this big lush sound. And then this is my other secret sauce, my Cattle and Bread FX40, the soft focus. This reverb pedal, it's basically 3 separate reverbs. You go through one that's just a straight plate reverb, and then there's another reverb that's octave up, and then there's another reverb that's just a modulated chorus reverb, and all 3 are running at the same time. And when you put, like, this thing gets really lush, really wet, and it's just a really good chorusy kind of reverb. And when you combine these two and I start doing the warp mode, it can actually almost sound like a choir, kind of like a lush choir if I hold that long enough. But this reverb, it's based on, I can't remember the exact Yamaha unit, it's slipping my mind right now, but it's based on an old Yamaha reverb rack unit. And it was a sound that was used, there was like one preset called soft focus that was used by a lot of like classic shoegaze bands, particularly Slowdive. And so this pedal is meant to emulate that one reverb setting, but it's a little bit cleaner because it's not that old digital sound. It's a lot lusher. But that's my basic board, and then I've just got a little power supply cheap that I got off of Amazon. But yeah, that's it pretty much.
Yeah, very cool. I love it. Let's see, I was gonna ask you questions, but I think you covered that incredibly well.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, awesome, man. I really appreciate the time. Let me get the camera back up here so y'all can see me shake his hand.
Yeah.
Enjoy y'all. Thank you for the rundown. Yes,
Thank you.
Now I'm over here with Ethan, other guitarist from Measureless Aeons. How you doing, Ethan?
Doing good. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Tell me about your Schecter here.
Yeah, this is a Schecter Sunset Extreme 7-string. I think that is. There's a lot of adjectives there. I bought this a few months ago. I've always played 7 strings. For our band, we don't really need it, but I just think they're cool. So
Yeah.
it just keeps me playing them. I have it tuned to drop A. I don't know if I think Ansley may have talked about it, but we kind of all play in different tunings. I just don't like switching tunings around at home. I kind of, like to just jam to some drop A chugs and all that. So I just keep it in drop A and just play with them, and we all just jam together. So yeah.
That works out.
Yeah.
So tell me, do you know what the pickup model is in these?
This is like the stock pickups that come with it.
Okay.
I cannot remember the names of them. But you can
We'll look it up. Flash it on the screen or something.
Yeah. Feel free to. Very cool.
Yeah, it's a super cool guitar.
It's really good. The neck is really thin.
Nice.
It feels really fast to play. I'm not like an excellent player or anything, but for me, it's easier to play. I like that there's one knob because whenever I have a tone, like a tone knob, I always, I just never touch it. So it's actually easier just to have this one volume knob. I think the stock pickups sound great. I know a lot of people switch their stock pickups out. Like I was thinking for previous guitars, switching them out for was it the Sentient Nazgul? Yeah. I was thinking about getting those, but I like the sound of these really well, so I just keep them as they are. Like I said, they come with locking tuners, which I hate when you're buying like a $1,000 guitar and they don't come with locking tuners,
Right.
or like a cheap nut. I don't know what type of nut this
Looks
is.
like a Draft Tech.
Probably Draft Tech.
Tusk.
So it's not like a cheap plastic nut, not just stock tuners. They have locks on them, so this is all stock. It's really good value. I think they go like $900 to $1,000, but I bought it used for $600. So that's
That's a really good deal for a guitar of this quality.
It was a steal. So I love this thing.
Sure. Yeah, Schecter bats way above their weight. I'm a big fan of it.
So good.
Very cool. Well, what about the rest of your rig?
Yeah, so I'm running a PV6505 Plus. I figured I couldn't be in like a metal band if I didn't have a PV, and I couldn't afford a dual rectifier, so I was like, I'll just do the 6505 Plus. So that's been great. I like it because you can heard us. We switch between dirty and clean a lot. You know, bass 6505s or 5150s. They don't have the dual like channels. So like whatever settings you set is going to be the same for the dirty and the clean. But this has both of them.
Key for both channels.
So yeah.
Okay.
And the clean doesn't sound amazing, but it gets the job done. So yeah, and then for my cab, I'm using an Avatar with two V30s in there. I guess 210 or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of Avatar cabs before. Yeah. You know, I was just trying to find an affordable place to get some cabs, and you can custom order whatever you want. And they got it. They got it out in a pretty swiftly, like a couple of weeks.
That's not bad. Especially for shipping something so bulky and heavy.
Yeah. So it's really good. You know, a lot of folks around here, especially in Vicksburg, they'll use big stacks. And I was like, I don't need that, so I just went stuck with the 210.
Yeah.
Just got the job done. Sure. And then I have a pedal board. I don't use all the pedals on it, but you know, I got a tuner, I got a noise gate, both Boss. I use a Keeley Parallax. It's a dual delay and reverb pedal, and it works really good because I can use my foot and stomp both at the same time. So it sounds pretty good. It gets the job done, and I also have a Digitech drop.
Yeah.
I use it more for at home, like drop tuning, because like I said, I don't feel like drop tuning all the time. Like if I'm playing some like deathcore or whatever, I like to drop tune without having to actually do it. But I use the octave settings when I play with these guys. And then I have I think it's a hardwire DV8. I can't remember. The DV8, I don't know. It's just this hardwire delay pedal with a loop option on it. They don't make them anymore. It's more for at-home playing. And then I have a bass big muff, also for at-home playing. That was the first pedal I ever got because I started out playing bass, so it's kind of a sentimental thing. But if I ever want to play some like kind of sludgy doom stuff at home,
they work pretty good for that.
Yeah, but really when I'm playing with these guys, I'm just using the delay pedal.
Okay.
That's the one I'm switching on pretty much on and off as I go from dirty to clean, and the drop pedal, and then like of course the tuner and the noise gate. So it's very, very simple thing.
Just the job done.
Kind
of let Ansley take some of the more atmospheric, crazy stuff.
Yeah, I don't like playing foot piano. I'm like using too much of my brain power trying to actually play this. So I keep it pretty simple. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for my rig.
Gets the job done. Yeah, well, awesome. Y'all showed was killer, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
We didn't get to do a rundown in person with Jack because of time constraints, but he was nice enough to send me a write-up as well as some pictures of his gear. Enjoy!
Hello, Jack here. Here is my rig for Measureless minus the bass amp. I pretty much run everything down the middle with a little drive boost on the amp. Bass is at Schecter Stiletto Stealth 5. It has bass preamp and to band EQ. But I also pretty much run those down the middle. Distortion pedal is Dark Glass Alpha Omicron. I always keep the bite and growl on as they're really the main distortion from the pedal. The top right give you a choice between a more fuzzy or deeper growly. Bass sound, I usually keep it turned more towards the deeper growl. Also have the HX bass clone chorus. I just pop that on during some of the atmospheric moments for a cooler sounding sustain note.